Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the interview. I'm with my good friend Marcus Cargill, and let me tell you before I give you an introduction, man, one of the most peaceful, graceful men I know. I mean, when he walks around, I'm like, man, how can I have the poise that this man has? And y'all will see who I'm talking about today. But without further ado, I want to introduce y'all to my good brother, Peace Coach himself, Marcus Cargill. What's up, man? Thanks for coming through.
What's happening, man? Thank you sincerely. I appreciate the opportunity. And in regards to, how does one carry themselves with such poise? I'm gonna tell you how. First, hard bottoms. Number one, make sure y'all get y'all some hard bottoms there, gentlemen. Number two, you got to put some butter on them hard bottoms, man, so you can slip and slide and glide wherever it is you go.
Hey, if I may, matter of fact, put those up one more time, man. I wanna,
Come on, man.
Crazy right
Come
there,
on,
man.
let me give you a little ankle turn right there.
Man.
Hard bottoms and throw some butter on there. You can slip and slide and glide wherever it is you need to. That's the secret to success.
Yeah, my man is always fly, man. Like I said, I appreciate your presence. When you are in the room, everybody feels your energy, and it's always everybody that I've known that has come in contact with you or has some type of relationship with you. We all have said the exact same thing.
Wow.
Like it really is an aura. You do have an aura around you that is very light. Very light.
Thank
you. It's easy to say because you're a big dude, bro. You ain't small. Like you're like an NFL linebacker. You know what I mean? So like, you ain't small, man. But
oh man.
Without further ado, man, let the people know if they don't know who you are, and where you from, and what you do.
Marcus Cargill. I'm originally from Gardena, California, so G House. And in regards to what it is I do, I help bring people peace. And I do that first by helping bring myself peace, working on that relationship with myself. And from there, it extends out.
Okay. So, and you said you from Gardena.
Yes, indeed.
So I knew you from LA. I didn't know where about. Now, I know exactly where Gardena is. I played for the Gardena Mohicans.
Oh, man.
I was
man.
Top one. I was my Top one career, right?
I love it.
So, I don't know if people don't know. Can you tell them where in Gardena that you grew up or where about that is?
Gardena, you could think of Gardena as kind of being in the pocket between, it will be surrounded by LA, central South LA, Compton on the other side, and maybe Hawthorne, Lawndale on the other side. So it's kind of in the pocket right in the middle of those three cities. So, you get a little bit of influences of all of that.
Yeah, and Gardena, for people who don't know, it got two sides to it. It's like a black side and then like a Korean side or like an Asian side, right? It's like one street that separates it, right?
Right, exactly. Van Ness, pretty much.
Right. So it's very interesting. Gardena is a very interesting place, and I love Gardena. I mean, I'm from Inglewood, which is right next door. So.
Yes, indeed.
So let's talk about that, man. You grew up in Gardena. That's where you grew up. You spent most of your time growing up, or?
I spent most of my time on Western Avenue. So I grew up in Gardena. That's where I lived with my parents, but I spent a lot of time in my lifetime being raised partially by my aunts and uncles and cousins, and I was on Western and 108th, basically. I spent a lot of time on 82nd and Western with my grandparents, and then I grew up pretty much all Western in El Segundo, not too far from Raleigh Park. So pretty much my whole life has been spent up and down Western Avenue in some form or fashion. But it's been all good, man. I'm so very grateful for how it worked out because I got to see a balance of a variety of different ways of living, which I think give me a pretty well-rounded perspective of how people live, how people move, how people think. And and then even spending some time working with my pop. So my dad would work in a variety of different places. Father is a musician, so I have a deep appreciation for music. And as a result of being into music, you go to different places and you do gigs and things like that. So I'm also getting an opportunity to see, Manhattan Beach, Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills, a lot of affluent spaces as well, and kind of seeing the same things, seeing what the lifestyle is like, seeing what the mindset, seeing the contrast in the demographics as well. So I found that interesting too.
So I like you talk about the contrast. I love that you bring that up because that's exactly what I was going to lead into about being from Gardena. You can kind of choose to go either way you want. Right? There's a lot of good things about Gardena. I believe in Sarah High School over there
That's
as
right.
well,
Yes, sir.
and which is a pretty prominent,
Yeah.
private school. Sorry, but Gardena is one of the places, from what I know, is you can choose to go the wrong way or choose to go the right. There's nothing forcing you either way, but you're just in
Right.
proximity.
Right.
So you said you you hung out. When you said 108 in Western, that's a lot different than over there. That's a lot different from over there by Raleigh Park or whatever the case may be.
Right, right.
When you go a little bit further.
We're talking about Eddie's Liquor.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So what? I mean, assuming that you hung outside or whatnot, what kept you from like getting into a life that would lead you down a different path? Maybe you did. Maybe you did spend some time doing that. I mean, I want to talk about that. Did you find your influence at one point going down, the route of game banging or just get involved with what LA has to offer you?
I can't say that I did that. And the main reason why I would say is my family did a great job keeping me in the house. And I used to be a bad kid, man. But bad not in the sense of I'm just out here to really do harm, but bad because a lot of times my curiosity would get the best of me, right? So a lot of times for a lot of family events, we got a family that I'll be talking about. I was very young, about maybe 3, 4 years old. And I remember my dad, I went in the house to grab something. He left the car running. I'm gonna start messing with the gears. Next thing I know, I'm looking outside. I'm seeing the sky moving. I'm like, why the sky moving so quick? Once I realized, oh, I must have pressed something to put it in reverse. Now the car's going out the driveway. I got to jump up out the car. So I'm pulling a Mission Impossible, jumping out of the car. The car works its way on down the driveway. Fortunately, nobody was rolling down the street. And it rolls across the street, crashes right into my neighbor's car, T-bones it. And, I got too many stories like that when I was younger, just getting into stuff.
Right. But it wasn't nothing violent. It was just
being mischievous.
Yeah, okay. I can accept that.
So that a lot of that happened at a very young age. I say from infancy to about 5. So there was an understanding. Okay, let's go on and keep them in the house. And
do you have any other siblings?
I have a younger sister. Yep.
Okay.
Shout out to Nyla. Yep. Yes, indeed. She's actually phenomenal horticulturalist, which is like dealing with the plants and different things like that. So if ever you need anything with that, you let me know. I'll be happy to make that connection.
So you mentioned you grew up with both your parents in the house, right?
Both my parents in the house, okay. Yeah.
And
Mom and Dad.
Your father was a musician. What about your mother?
My mother, I would say for the most part, she toggled between staying at home and different managerial positions of various industries and things like that. But I think she always preferred spending time at home, being with family and things like that. I think that always worked for her. Now when I look back, I'm like, okay, yeah. A lot of the spaces she would go to, I think she was very fond of the people there. I'll say it like that. And so home was always where the heart was,
right.
And then my dad was more on the outgoing side of the spectrum when it comes to work. And he's spending time doing something that he really enjoys. So I think that played a role as well. He has a studio. So, a lot of things here. I guess I kind of grew up around a little bit now that I'm thinking about it. From a recording perspective in terms of music and how that goes.
It's all entertainment. The entertainment business is very similar across the board.
Yes.
All require the same stuff. Mic, headphones, sound.
Exactly. So I had an opportunity to grow up and seeing some of that. Some of my earliest days working was in my dad's warehouse, putting together a lot of things. I used to put together all the work pretty much from raw materials to retail in terms of putting music together from tapes and CDs and et cetera, put a lot of that stuff together.
Would you say, as we kind of roll into you as you growing up, of course both your parents had an influence. Would you say had the greatest impact on you as a child growing up, as it pertains to you as an adult? Because now you can look back and reflect, like, hell, So, like, I mean, do you even know if there is one more than the other, maybe both? I'm curious to know.
I would say if I was younger, I probably would have said my mother, but there's a reason why. I'll get into that. But right now, in today's time, I would say both parents, both my mother and father had their impact, and it was kind of balanced. It was complementary. My mother taught me how to be kind. My father taught me how to work hard. And when you can be kind and work hard, you can do a lot of good things in life. So I have both of them to thank for that. They kind of gave me a great yin yang, if you will, to approaching life. The reason why I would say in my younger years, I probably would say my mother is because, and I think this might be kind of what motherhood and fatherhood is all about in general. And I mean, you feel free to chime in on this as well, as you too are a father. And in regards to motherhood, I think a lot of times it is felt in the now, and a lot of times with fatherhood, it is felt in the future. So, there was a lot of times where I would appreciate my mother in the now coming up because a lot of the things she was doing was nurturing. And so I could feel it right there in that moment. Oh, it's okay, baby, da 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 da. My father would be like, nah, you need to do this, or yeah, go do this, get up, do this. I didn't appreciate that until I got older. And then I started facing things in life that I wouldn't have been prepared for had I not gone through those things when I was younger. So in the moment as a child, I wasn't able to see like, oh, okay, this is setting me up for 10, 20, 30 years down the line. So I say motherhood oftentimes, and obviously this is a generalization, oftentimes is built for that now. And I think fatherhood is built for that future. So you might be seen as a certain way, but it's setting you up for 10, 20 years down the line. So even if you look like the bad guy in that moment, what you think?
No, I agree. I think, I'm talking about girl, this fatherhood is still, and motherhood is ever changing. So it's easy to recognize.
Mm-hmm.
It's much like dinner time, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always think about the meal on top of the table, but the table doesn't seem as important.
Right.
It's always there.
I saw that as, dinner is going to be every night, 7:00.
That's mom.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the meal might be different. So when you said that just now, that's how I looked at it.
Exactly. But yeah, I would agree, man. It's as you get older, I think that my father, I started realizing how important he was in my upbringing as well. But I want to move along as we come from, how you kind of grew up. I like the emphasis of you being a bad child, right? From a point, because who you are today is like totally different, right? People would think maybe it's gonna come out differently, much like my younger sister. But so you growing up in the saying well, just saying in Gardena. Did you go to Gardena High School?
I went to Gardena High School.
Now you can went to there was Mohicans or when there was Panthers. It's a big difference, man. I gotta know if you're a Mohican or you're a Panther.
I'll just say that I know various Mohicans, but I went there as a Panther. So that puts me in a certain timeline, without getting too obvious with my timeline.
No, right on. It's still all good. Same colors. But what was that experience like? Because high school, I think, usually determines a lot about which way a person's going to go pre-adulthood. So
Right.
What was your experience like at Gardena High School?
My experience at Gardena was attempting to fit in all the time, and it did not work.
Did you play sports as well, or?
I played sports, but that happened much later.
Okay.
And I didn't get to the sports until junior year and senior year of high school, which now looking back, I'm like, man, I would have probably done something different. But I suppose everything happens for a reason. But when I got in there, my goal was just to fit in. I was trying to be like everybody else. And not that there's anything wrong with everyone else, but it's more so I should have been prioritizing trying to just be me. And that didn't really hit me until I got to senior year high school. That's when I started, personally, I know a lot of times we don't really like uniforms, but I like uniforms.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and throw this collar shirt on.
So I got a question. So what happened? Like, what was there an event that took place what made you make that switch? Because this is an important part of the timeline of who you are, just deciding to be less influenced.
Right.
What happened? Like, what was it that happened?
I think I was just observing, and this is the best I can articulate it now. I think I was just observing a lot of the people and a lot of the groups, and just from watching everybody, there was just a lot of stuff either I didn't get down with, I didn't agree with, or I already saw the outcome of, okay, these actions or this behavior is not going to lead to a good outcome. So I suppose I just started maturing a lot more, and I was able to think a little bit more critically about things. I would say, okay, this outcome isn't really necessary. Or I was looking at the people who were highly revered, and I just it didn't resonate with me. I wasn't moved. I wasn't impressed. And I'm like, so what am I trying to fit into? And so I think from there, I'm just like, I'm going to wear this. I'm going to do this. This is what I like. And if people have something to say about it, it's cool. Like the roasting don't really hit me like that.
Right, because I'm just like myself. You probably went to school, high school, early 2000s. I did. I graduated '06.
Mm-hmm.
So early 2000s was my time through high school.
Right.
Where people was checking your tags, in the back of your t-shirt, white t-shirts was really in,
right,
stuff
right.
like that. But you wasn't in all that.
Well, the other thing with that is, so like the different tags and all of the different labels and stuff like that. I think the other side of it was like, the only difference between this Marona polo from Target and this $70 Lacoste polo is the little alligator on it.
Right.
But it's the same material. It's made in the same place. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that just didn't seem that significant to me after a while.
And you could have conceptualized all this at 16, 17.
Yeah. Perhaps there was some other events that I'm not realizing at the moment that put me in that space, but I'm just like, I was just unimpressed with a lot of things after a while.
Were you, what size were you at this point in high school? You're a pretty big guy now, so.
Oh, man.
Thank you. Big guy in high school, or?
So by senior year, my nickname was Creatine, so I guess that.
Oh, you don't make serious talks. I told you, I'm going to get into. We got to find out. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes sense now, right? This is who you started to become. So tell me about that, because that's super important. They nicknamed you Creatine. Why?
Right. So for those of you who don't know, creatine is just a supplement that helps with, athletic performance, muscle growth, etc. And so that came to be because that's so freaking hilarious now when I look back.
It's powder steroids.
Right. Hey, not no steroids, man. What we talking about?
But yeah, I got you.
So I got into sports junior year of high school. And I got into sports because I had started hanging out with friends more. I told you where I grew up and where I spent a lot of time. But for the most part, outside of the homes and not too far from those homes that I told you I spent time at, I didn't really venture out too much. I think most of my life, I didn't go past 2 blocks from where I grew up. And so finally, I reached a point in high school. I'm like, let me see what's actually over here. And I started taking a bus per my pop at the time, because I was working on getting the cars. I had to work and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I'm starting to take the bus a lot more, right? Because they didn't really have the time to do it at that point. And so I had to go down that route. But also I started to realize, oh, wait, there's way more around here. Oh, wait, those are my homies on the bus. Oh, wait, they live right down the street from me. My whole life, my homies, so shout out to Kevin, DeAndre, but for my whole life, elementary all the way to high school, we live right down the street from each other. And I did not know that. And so that taught me a lesson of, oh man, you got to get out and you got to see what's out here in the world. And so you can have a little bit more familiarity with what's going on around you. So that got me into wanting to go out and do different things more. I started hanging with friends more, and they was playing sports where I did not. So from there, I enjoyed it so much. We started playing football in the streets and different things, basketball after school. And that led to, I'm kind of digging this sports thing. Let me go play sports. And so I joined the football team. And then from there, it's what ended up happening from there. I learned how to play football, but I'm learning it from scratch.
I'm here. I know you sound like, what am I doing with this, right? You was called creatine.
Uh-huh.
So I want to know, what was that about?
Oh,
like,
why that was?
Was you just doing push-ups at nighttime, or like, was you a small guy and you got big? I want to know, what was that?
Yeah, man, I was not in the best shape, and I would say, I guess I had potential to have a little size on me, but no, I wasn't the biggest guy, but I wasn't the smallest guy either. I was just average, I suppose you could say. And I didn't really have a physique that you could work with, if you will, right? So some people would call it a husky.
Okay, all right, you just that kid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You just went offensive guard.
Yeah, nah. Actually, when I got probably I looked like I was doing that. Actually, you might be right about that. But then the height plus the offensive guard height that and size it. Anyway, so from there, start hitting the weight room, and I started getting whooped on at first because I didn't have no strength to me, and I didn't really have no size that I knew how to work with to me, right? So I'm getting moved around. Shout out to LG who shoots a lot of my fitness content. So when you're on IG, you'll see a lot of that. But he actually was one of the first guys that smacked the mess out of me in football. So it was an interesting full circle moment. But that's when I learned, like, okay, I can't be getting pushed around. Let me go and start lifting these weights. Got a magazine. My mother got me this magazine. I still remember the workout. It was a basketball magazine. I think it was called Slam magazine.
Yeah.
Basketball magazine, and had a workout in there, 6 moves. I remember it, and this is what I first started doing. And that's kind of what started this whole journey of building up the physique.
Yeah.
And it was push-ups, crunches, push-ups close into the toe touches, push-ups wide into hip raises. And I did that for 3 rounds, 7 days a week for, I don't know, several weeks. And I remember looking in the mirror because I grew up, even though I didn't mention before, I grew up low confidence, low self-esteem, right? I didn't have a healthy self-image, if you will. And so I remember avoiding mirrors. But then at this particular time in my life, I remember walking past the mirror, and in the corner of my eye, I didn't really recognize what I was looking at. So I had turned and looked, and I'm like, whoa, okay, wait a minute. Chest getting tight?
See,
hold
man,
on.
I'm gonna tell you why that's I'm glad that we start where we start when I ask the question, because you are a person that takes your fitness to you hold it at a high regard for yourself and for the people. The fact that you remember those workouts from decades ago,
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. It's some moment.
Yep.
It's something about when we growing up that's a piece of it that kind of catapults us to where we are today. The fact that you remember those same workouts from when you were in 11th grade is super powerful, man.
Yep.
Super powerful right now. I don't know. I just want to recognize the moment.
I appreciate that.
Man, that's amazing, because look at you today. You know what I mean? Now, you can be in somebody's magazine, you know what I'm saying, as a fitness model. So
appreciate it.
So let's fast forward a little bit from there. So you end up graduating. You go to college. Like what's because now high school is over, right? It's like a whole new life ahead of you. Now you have this understanding of your own physique, new confidence. What do you do with it? Right.
So I'm going to answer that by saying this. After seeing that change in the mirror, as I mentioned, that pretty much changed the trajectory, of my life. At that point, I knew that that's what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life after seeing that change that I just spoke on. And that's probably why I still do remember the movements that I did. I knew from that day on, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life in some form of fashion. And the feeling, it was almost like all these years of not feeling heavy on the self-worth side, it was all poured into me in that one moment. And it was very transformative, if you will, right? It was kind of like those movies and those Marvel movies when a superhero goes through this little process and he gets his superpowers. And it was very much reminiscent of that. So fast forward, graduate high school, by this time, I'm already on a trajectory of I'm going to do anything fitness and health related. So figured I would go to um, and focus on kinesiology, which is a very cute word for PE, but it's the study of the principles of the body and its movement. And so through focusing on that, I ended up going to Cal State Dominguez.
Right on.
And so go Toros. Went to Cal State Dominguez. That's what I focused on as far as my major was concerned. And while I was going there, I was simultaneously going to I was going through a certification course for personal training. Excuse me. And as a result, while I was going to school for that, I was also getting the certification for personal training. I ended up befriending the person who was teaching the certification course. So shout to Richard Forcione, thank you very much, who happened to be a former employee of the YMCA, which was the first space that employed me as a trainer. I mean, I did a couple of things self-employed on the side, but the first people that actually gave me a chance. And so shout to Gwen Malone as well, who ended up hiring me there. So you might hear me say a lot of shout outs because I think my journey, you know, it was a collection of people that helped me in different pieces of my life.
Everybody's life.
Yeah,
Everybody's life.
yeah. So I have to give reverence for that. So thank you.
Man, once again, bro, like, sometimes I love the way, like, I love the way I ask questions because it comes to me. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, to my own horn, but I love the way I ask because, and I'm just using these terms just to emphasize it, but the fat kid goes to being a personal trainer.
Right.
Come on, man. Like, how else you want to write this? You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
Like, that's like the motivation from that. And it always stems back to you being a kid. I don't know how much you think about it. You know what I mean? I don't know how much that actually sits on your mind of this is where I was, and it still fuels you today. Because even what I do, I have my own story of why I do what I do, and it comes from me being a kid. So you go into college for kinesiology, which, like I said, it's the study of the body and the movements of the body. People who get physical therapy, a lot of sports trainers, all these people are kinesiologists. So people who don't understand it. I went to Cal State Dominguez, which is a huge school for kinesiology.
Right.
So you graduate from Dominguez with your major in kinesiology. You're working at the YMCA. This is where we are now, right?
Okay.
Were you still this guy holding the aura that you have throughout those moments? Were you still the peace coach you were? Before we get into how you even went on that spiritual journey, I know it's a journey just for that and on its own, right? But did you still have that foundation? Were you angry first? Because that's why I want to, because as we bridge this and weave this together, I want to also get the foundation of that part of you. Because physically we can see, but there's a whole another mental aspect to Marcus Cargill that I want people to understand about you that I am most fond. Anybody can lift weights, but where you are and how you carry yourself, that to me is the most impressive. So where does that part of you stem from? Did you always carry that? Or was there also something, just like you've been a fat kid, turned to this extraordinary fitness workout guy, was there this angry person that turned into this person of peace? Like, where did that come from?
Right. That's a great question, man. I think perhaps there's been a couple of things that contributed to it, but what comes to my mind right now, I think a lot of times when you see people that get into the health and fitness space, there is an undercurrent of anger. And so I already told you about, that self-worth thing. And one of the other things that I struggled with when I was in school was comparison, playing a comparison game, looking at other people. I'm like, man, they got this and this and this. I know I'm over here, I'm working, I'm doing this over here with school, I've got this going on, and I still don't have the ability to be able to show that I got this and this going on. But these people just seem to get it. And I know this cat, I see them in school and they get the notes from me. So I don't even know how they doing this good. So I had a mean issue with the comparison game that I had to work through. Right. So a lot of that time that would drive some anger, disappointment, depression. Like, man, I know I'm doing more than this. Da, da, da. But I had to learn somewhere along the lines, like, it's your own journey. You got to focus on you. So the energy you're putting on comparison yourself to other people, that's the energy you got to put on just focusing on improving yourself. And it's easy to do the comparison game. It's easy to hate on other people because it don't require as much work. But the work that's required, who do you have to become to be able to receive this type of lifestyle that you're looking for or that you seek or to meet these goals? That's oftentimes the key is who do you have to become? You know, even when people talk about how they want, financial prosperity, they want to be a millionaire and so forth and so on. And I resonate with those things too. But it's who do you have to become to get into that space, right? And trying to compare yourself to others is taking away all the time that you could be allocating towards working on who you got to become. So there was a lot of that. And I think the more I focused on building myself up, more I focused on personal development, that's where that improved. The YMCA you mentioned, when I was working there, and as far as was I always at peace, I think through working there, it gave me an opportunity to work with a lot of people who were going through a lot of different things. And some of those things a lot of those things I was able to learn from, right? So almost in the kind of way, the same way you're interviewing, I mean, you have to do that in any relationship to a certain extent. And I did that often with the training aspect at the Y. So shout out to one of my clients at the time, who was a wonderful person, Jessica Dennis. So I have to give my reverence again. She was one of the first people who was one of my clients, but also called me out, like, because at the time I was just always, it's training and that's it. There's no
like
rapport, right?
Like the cussing people out in the gym,
I mean, yeah, essentially, I mean, I might not have, the cussing wasn't that smooth, you know what I'm saying, going down in the YMCA. So I didn't really hit that too much. But she was one of the first clients who really told me, like, man, you don't talk about nothing else. And, basically that's when I was like, oh, you're right. I don't. So then I started working on developing, actually building rapport and really building relationships with people. And that's where I think a lot of the peace came in, because it required me to have to learn how to be more social. And one of the things was being a good listener, becoming an active listener. And what things do you need to do when people are going through different things? So I would read a lot on how can I do that better. And through practicing with a lot of clientele, I learned, okay, a lot of times it typically works well if you can remain composed.
Let me ask you this: what's one of the things that you read to help you to guide you to this space?
At that time, I would say a lot of it was Google searches, reading a variety of different articles on how to develop your speaking skills, your social skills. So I couldn't say that there is anything that I subscribe to. Like nowadays, that's a much bigger thing. And I would say in today's time, if I was to do it again, or some of the books that helps me now with that is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I knew Dale Carnegie was coming out.
Dale Carnegie, yes, indeed.
That was the book I had in mind. I was like, if you read this book,
yes,
I don't need to know nothing else.
Yeah,
you know
so definitely that one, of course. A couple other ones would be, I'm sure that those same principles in that book were a lot of the things that I probably read.
For sure.
Another one was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes, sir.
And, seek first to understand, then be understood. So, and then I like to read things like Psychology Today, getting a better understanding of how the mind works, how the people work, and, how to have the best and healthiest relationship you can with people.
You said something right before I asked you about that, and something was powerful. You said you understood that you had to have a sense of, I forgot the words you used, I'm just going to paraphrase, like a sense of calmness.
Yeah, remain composed.
That's where it was. Composure, huge right there, right? So you had to have it for your clients, and that's that where like you realize, oh, let me focus and work on my poise so I can have a better clientele, or was it just like, let me do it for me? Or I'm trying to figure out.
I would actually say it was before that. So, I had my stints where I wasn't doing the best in school. And so parents start chewing me out. And, if ever that happened, I just learned that I'm not really a fan of this getting chewed out. So let me remain calm because this is getting me angry. But obviously, it would not be wise for me to act on my anger, especially to my pop. So that would not be wise. So let me go ahead and remain calm. And from there, I realized. So I kind of realized like that was kind of like a life hack. Like, oh, okay, if I can just continue to remain calm and talk calmly and talk slowly, I can kind of change the energy in the way in the space that I'm in. And I think honestly, that's where a lot of it came from. And then moving forward, I learned, oh, this also works in pretty much most situations that you're in.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to, people get riled up, or I've had disagreements with people, or I got people that's ready to move some furniture. I've been able to adjust that energy by remaining composed and remaining calm. And it was one of those things where I realized, like, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, we can act the fool and start throwing stuff, but it's still not really going to accomplish much in the long term.
No, and I'm gonna tell you, if you are a person that's well thought out, and I think I am. If a person as such as you are so calm in a situation, that's probably the person you should fear most. Like most of the time. Like I'm gonna keep it real with you. You know what I mean? Like that's not the person you usually want to try because it's usually it's a decision for them to be angry. They're not acting. They're not. I would say respond. They're
reacting.
There we go. They're not reacting. They're choosing to respond. So they're thinking, and a thinking person is so much more dangerous than a person who's just acting on emotion, right? So the fact that you say that, man, I'm gonna tell you right now. If a person looks at you, if I was going to get in a bout with you, and I saw you and you were that calm, I'm like, yeah, I think we should just walk out. He's way too calm for this situation. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that. I can't get him off his I can't get him off his off his square.
That's not getting off the square.
And that's a problem because you're like, if I come off the square, it's gonna get different. Yeah. So, brother, my
good brother,
right?
Please, let's not do this.
But so I want to ask you. So now you are a bona fide peace coach. Now it ain't about just working out because I don't think that I can even like. It's obvious you do, but it's something else you did, right? I remember I interviewed a chef a long years ago, and he said, "I thought, what makes you different from any other? Everybody can get a potato and put some cheese and whatever." He said, "Man, it ain't about the food; it's about the chef." And I knew exactly what he meant. And for you, it's not about you can get any fitness instructor out here, but what you provide is something totally different, which is you. So now that you are intentional about who you are and protecting your peace, how do you do that? How do you protect it? How do you stay calm? What is a practice that you use? Because a lot of people who want to be as easygoing as you, but that seems to be difficult for them. What's your secret?
Personal development. I put in a lot of work. Not only did I focus on the fitness side, and that continued to grow, I did a lot of reading, a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, textile, physical books on how to understand how to just be a better person and how to do a better job of loving myself, a lot of prayer. At a certain point, there was a lot of church, spending time around good people. So I put in the work, a lot of money spent on therapy so I can have a better understanding there. So, oftentimes there's, even still to this day, I think it's changing, I would say, which is great. But I still think that even to a certain extent, there's a stigma to receiving therapy, right? And so I would say through a variety of applying all of those things, it allowed me to be more mindful of, even to this day, I follow a lot of content. Shout out holistic psychologist. That's definitely up my alley. And just being able to go over a lot of content that allows you to focus on being a better person. So I continue to prioritize that. and it allows me to focus on making more deposits rather than withdrawals. And I mean to myself. And I think one way to help a lot of people is for themselves to focus on improving the relationship with themselves. And what does that look like? And one of the things is you got to learn how to make more deposits than withdrawals for yourself. I think a lot of us, we operate from a spirit of insufficient funds, right? And so when you spiritually bankrupt, you're going to be more volatile and more reactive. You know, you spend a lot of, man, exactly. I'm like, wow, you got this in you. But it's not that they got that in them, it's what they don't have in them that can steer people to go into directions that sometimes will just throw you off completely off the loop. And so it's very important. So for everybody listening, please do a checks and balances on your spirit. You know, the same way you do your checks and balances with your money at the bank, you know, you want to get into the practice of making more deposits into your spirit rather than withdrawals. So when you're around certain people and you know they're making big withdrawals, you got to either you got to balance it out and make some big deposits beforehand, or you got to just not don't make the withdrawals at the moment. Focus on making the deposits. Case in point today, actually, as of the time that we're recording this, I made today a proactive mental health day. So I took the day off from working with anybody. And it's not that I'm necessarily having a problem, but I know that there's a certain point where I can get burnt out from making so many withdrawals and, you know, deposits into other people. So every once in a while, I have to have a day like this so I can focus on pouring back into me, making a deposit back into myself.
For sure.
So,
you know, I did the same thing after, you know, I just did that fast. I spent, you know, the first day back, I spent the whole day pouring a lot into myself. As it was juice and food, and I was pouring all into myself, but I didn't care. I didn't want to answer the phone, you know. But but no, I agree. You know, you do need, and I'm learning that more now about having that space, especially me coming from a background of not business development first before personal development. It's work hard. Ain't no days off. What you talking about?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what? I ain't getting no sleep, and I was proud of it.
Right.
More like a badge of honor.
Right.
But that's because that's what I thought.
Right.
You know.
Now you can't move around. Now you out here limping. Your back hurt. You can't turn your neck to the left. You know what I'm saying? Stomach poking out. Right. And so shoulder pain. Yeah. So
stomach poke. That's the one right there. Stomach poking out. I'll do it all that. As long as the stomach ain't poking out, man. That's number one. I can't have the stomach poking out. I want to ask this question because I want some clarification for people who don't know. What is a peace coach? Just clearly, because I know that you probably get asked that quite often, right? So let's go ahead and clear it up. People who looking like, what? Okay, I think they can put in context, but we want to hear about right from you. What is a peace coach?
Right. I would say that I actually created it because I think that that's what I was doing as the personal training and the fitness training evolved. I realized that was more the outcome that would lead to a lot of the clientele, because we didn't focus on just, you know, push-ups and sit-ups. We focused on how to get your whole life better. And so a peace coach, as I define it, is a person that helps you, that specializes in bringing themselves and others peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. And so I do that by focusing on 7 F's. And these are the 7 F's that I realize typically when I'm working with people that end up getting touched on and end up getting developed. And it's faith, family, friends, fitness, finance, fashion, food. Through focusing on those 7 F's and developing them, you will be more at peace.
Damn. Hey, man, that was one of the best elevator pitches I ever heard right there. I mean, yo, for real though.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I can't think of something else that I would add in there. I'm trying to think of one, right? You know, I ain't gonna say it because we in a different space right now. That's something between you and your lady.
You got a different F.
Yeah, I got a different F in there. But
I mean, you know, I'll tell you this. The fitness does help with that, and as far as that goes, it might develop your family and friend circle a little bit too. Right there. So you know, I mean, if you don't do it the right way, it might have a detrimental impact on the finances. Right. So it got low key. It's actually involved in quite a bit
Right,
But
right,
you
right.
know,
It's right. It's like a point five. We're gonna put
right.
that in
There's
communication. That's
there's
what it
the
is. There we go. We add that one in there.
there's the F's for after 9 p.m.
There it is.
After 9 F's, that's a couple of different things, you know.
No, impactful, man. Because I can say that, man. I love the way that you broke that down because every single one of those is like they have. That's like the what I want to say the level, not the level of importance, but what's on your list of important things right there.
Right.
So, man, and what is some of the practices outside of we know? Okay, we got the fitness, right? But what are some of the other things you teach to fill those other F categories?
Mm. So faith, I think a lot of times if I were to say faith, most people would think about their faith in God or a particular religion that they practice, but it's actually about faith in you. You know, most people don't realize the power that they have. So the faith is actually how much faith do you have in yourself? And for those of you who do have a strong belief and you give a lot of honor to God, how much honor to God is really authentic if you don't have faith in yourself? I would respectfully challenge that to say that you have weak faith in God if you don't believe in the faith of yourself and that you need to develop that. So the faith is for that. Family is for learning how to develop some of your relationship skills in the sense of you're born into the family that you're born in. And so be mindful of managing those relationships. How can you make them better? If they're already great, how can you build them further? But if they require some work, how can you make them better? And oftentimes that requires another F, forgiveness, when it comes to family. Friends is building out your network, and now you can sort of customize it, right? It's like, you know, you playing NBA 2K and you put 99 overall on everything when you customize your own players. So now when it comes to friends, you have this opportunity frequently to build friendships with people that you resonate with or that you would like to be around more. So that one is more about how to develop these friendships. What is it that you need to do in order to be in these types of circles more so that you can be more in the light of what it is you would like to be doing more. Fitness, obviously, that one's in the middle and it's in the cornerstone. It's one of the cornerstones, of course, from my own background. And it's, not just the physical, but also being mentally fit, spiritually fit, being able to practice things that raises your mind, body, and spirit all in one. But yes, you need to be moving and you need to challenge your body. You need to put your tempo through some rites of passage, if you will. So you got to move it. You have to challenge yourself. That helps you to develop that discipline of providing yourself proactive challenges and obstacles so that when they arise in life, you're more prepared to take them on. Finance is more coming from the context of currency, understanding that currency is an energetic flow, in and out, give and receive. So learning how to give so that you may receive. Say for example, how even in this space here, you've given me this opportunity to be able to speak to some people, and hopefully this resonates with some people. And so some people will receive this, if you will. I'm receiving an opportunity to get some exposure. I do sincerely appreciate. And so then there's going to be other ways that I'm going to give as well in order to be able to reciprocate. So, or the message that I'm giving, people may receive, so forth and so on. So it's a constant flow and it happens in various ways at the same time, simultaneously. So that's what currency is. But understanding reciprocity and how to give so that you may receive. Um, Finance. It was the one I just was on. Fashion and food. Fashion is more like your image. So kind of what you see here. Got this little blazer on. Got this little pocket square going on right here.
I ain't gonna lie to you. So I said, whatever you want.
So fashion is more your image. Like what is it? What is the message that you want to tell people without you having to open your mouth? Without having to say a word, what is the message that you want to give off? And I know I want to be taken seriously, and I want to be someone you can see that I'm one that will pay attention to the details. So, you want to be able to move and sport something that carries the image at which you want to be seen as, if you will, right? So if you are aiming to become the president of the United States one day, it is likely you will not see them. You will see them in a khaki suit, right? No, you're gonna see them in house shoes, maybe not. So there's now maybe a tan double-breasted suit. Yeah,
Right,
now we're
right,
talking.
But ain't gonna be
But be mindful.
tracksuit.
You know, be mindful of things like that. That however it is you're trying to show up in the world, what does the image of that look like? So if I want to be someone that's taken seriously, I need to take my own image seriously. Because sometimes people may not say a thing to me at all. I may not say anything, but just my energy is going to give off a certain vibe. And so I need to be mindful of what that vibe is. And then finally, food. You are what you eat. You are a product of what you consume. And yes, that's food. And typically when we come to food, all across the board, across various cultures, typically you're going to be healthier when you have more water and more plants. So that's that on that. But in addition to that, being mindful of what it is you consume. So if all you're listening to on the radio is a lot of speaking upon death, if a lot of what you see on TV is a lot of gratuitous behavior, if a lot of the people that you are around are pessimistic and discouraging you from wanting to accomplish certain things, you're going to be a byproduct of all of these things that you're consuming. So now, if you didn't realize that, now this is your call to action moving forward to be more mindful that you're spending more time in optimistic circles, people that are encouraging you to go and do greater things and challenging you to go do greater things, listening to things that are more constructive and help to develop your mind, watching things that are providing you a more positive representation, because we live in a culture that emphasizes death and reinforces death in many ways. So it only makes sense that that's what a lot of times the outcome is for so many, and especially in our community.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that you broke those down too, because they all have their own purpose and providing a life of, I think, what you would overall place as peaceful. But all that's required to live in a peaceful mentality, because it is just a mindset. It's a mindset. Like, peace is a mindset. It's a mindset. And you seem to have accomplished that. Another person I give a lot of credit to would be Ware, because he also walks with,
That's another peace coach.
Yeah, another person,
if you will.
Another person who walks with mindfulness and peace that it precedes him. I have a cousin like that. I tell him all the time, man. You seem always, taking your time. You always seem like you're taking your time, even when you rush it, and that's a hard thing to do. But you make it look easy. You make it look like you're at ease and you're at grace. So your presence, man, is always felt, and you don't even have to say nothing. I remember, man, I'll never forget, we were sitting here talking. There was like 3, 4 of us, man, and the whole time they can't see me, but you were sitting there, almost like in a prayer pose, as we were talking. You said nothing, but what you were giving was like praise and peace, energy, just by that pose you were just standing there. I was like, this brother's impacting the space without saying anything. God damn, but he's good. You know what I'm saying? So,
wow. I appreciate that, man.
Man, I don't know if you remember or
do not.
It stood out. It stood out to me, and I never forgot that.
Wow.
So I was like, this brother is impacting this space without saying a word. You were listening, but your stance, your body, and what you wanted to represented perfectly for the moment, and it was received by everybody. It was like 4 of us, So, anyways, man, I want to say, man, I appreciate your time here. I thank you so much for coming by, sharing your story. Before I let you go, I gotta ask you one more question, because I believe the day that you're born, you sign a contract to die, and I like to give an opportunity that most people don't think about. So I like to provide that opportunity here, which would be some last words. Today is not your last words. It is not your last day, but if it was, what would you want to share with your loved ones and the ones who love
Mm. What would I want to share with my loved ones? Let me preface it also by saying that I do not fear death. I recognize that it is that everybody's going to have their time. So it doesn't necessarily hit me like that,
you?
if you will.
I like that.
So that's number one. So that's why, and to chase that, this is what I would say. Whatever it is that you want to do in life, whoever it is that you want to become, just start working on doing that. Start working on being the best version of yourself that you want to be, that you see for yourself. So long as you are not causing great harm in the grand scheme of things, and I know that could be subjective, but if you're doing things in alignment with nature, oftentimes you're going to be in a good space and you're going to be able to provide a lot of good. But also acknowledge that, yeah, there will be a humanity component to you where it won't be perfect, but that's okay. Give yourself grace and space to become the best version of yourself. Whoever it is that you want to become that. Whoever you need to talk to and work on improving that relationship or forgiving, go ahead and make that happen. Because you don't know how much time you got here. And I know you said what you said, but I'm also aware that, hey, man, we can't call it. So because of that, I'm going to carry myself in such a way that I'm okay in the grand scheme of things. And that's why a lot of times I'm able to think like, is this really worth my peace right now? I don't know how much time I'm going to be here. Do I really want to spend my last days? Could this be the last days? I want to spend that time being upset about this little situation. So that constantly keeps me grounded, if you will. I believe in ancient times, certain cultures, they would have a god next to these kings and emperors that would say something along the lines of mementi mori, which is Latin for one day you will die. And they kept that so that they never got too big headed. They remained humble. And so that really resonates with me. I'm in that space. So whatever it is I want to say or do, I'm pretty much going to do it and or say it and or live it. Because I don't know how much time I got here. And I'm so very grateful for the time I've been provided so far and the life that I've lived thus far. I'm so very grateful. However, there will come a time. So again, that's to everybody, family, friends, and otherwise listening. Whatever it is you want to do, go on and do it. However it is you're trying to live, work on becoming that person so you can enjoy it. You don't know how much time you got. So go ahead and really look at how do you really want to live your life and just start moving in that direction.
That's it, man. And, from the words of Steve Jobs, which I always like to have on me, he said, "Today was your last day. Would you want to do what you're about to go do today?"
Hmm.
Answer that question every morning.
Mm,
Powerful, right?
mm,
Do you want to go do what you're about to go do? And if you that answer that question should lead you right.
right.
Um, Brother, once again, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your art. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for what you produce in the world around you. I mean, honestly, I wish that we had a multitude of men like you that exude strength by not showing
Hmm.
it, by keeping it under wraps. And I've seen this before. It said a powerful man is not going to show his strength as one who knows he's strong without having to
Mm,
right? Without keeping it under control. You do that very well. You don't perpetuate fear, but you don't have to. You know what I mean? It's already understood by the way you carry yourself, your poise, and like I said, man, you are a true man. You are a true unicorn, my brother. True unicorn,
man, thank you much.
for real, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, to y'all listening, obviously, I got to pay this man some good money. All this hyping up he been doing, he been really pouring into me with these words today. So,
Man, listen,
I appreciate
I
that.
wouldn't have you here if I had to lie.
I
You know?
appreciate it, man. Thank
So,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, now you know. Marcus Cargill, Peace Coach, and I just got to add, an extraordinary individual. And what I love the most about doing my shows, I get LA natives because the people get to see from all over the world the different sides of what Los Angeles can bring, and it ain't what you see on Boys in the Hood.
Mm,
So,
That's that representation again.
You know what I mean? And look at y'all can see this man right here, Marcus Cargill. Y'all know me, and we're two totally different individuals than what we step. But I'm so glad that he represents the way he does, and I made sure, without doubt in my mind, because I think I told you a long time ago, like I need to get you here. So I was like, I need to get you here. I remember it took a while for us to get here, but we got it done.
It happened when it needed to.
It sure did, brother. And I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been introduced to my brother Marcus Cargill.
Peace. Wow. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate that, G. What's that? All right, Omen. It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna go